Siftach for Rosh Chodesh Women's Circle. This class is going to be about the shifting energies of the month of Nissan, which is beginning tonight. And I'm so excited. Thank you, everyone, for joining me in person, and to everyone joining me online or listening to this. I'm so honored that you're with me and here to learn Torah together. Okay, Nissan begins tonight, and it is the beginning of the year. What does that mean? I thought Tishrei was the new year. So we actually learned that Nissan is called Rosh HaChadashim. It means it's the first of the months. Tishrei is the beginning of the year, and Nissan is the beginning of the Jewish months, right? For a couple reasons. First of all, it's the first time we began counting the Jewish months, but it's not just because of that. Hashem specifically intentionally chose Nissan to be the first Jewish month that we count. So we want to understand how we're going to learn about Nissan and how it is different than Tishrei, and how it is the months are different than the years, right? It's the beginning of the Jewish months and not the Jewish year. We're also going to cover today the Zodiac Matzah, astrological sign of the month, which is, anyone know? Aries. If you're watching this, you'll hopefully learn something about, if you're an Aries and you're listening to this, and anyone here will learn something about yourself. It's the sign of the lamb, and in Hebrew, that taleh. Obviously, hopefully you can think about some Nissan connections already. We're going to learn about the Shevet of the month. So whoever's new to this monthly shiur, if it's your first time at the monthly class of Coffee and Kabbalah, then the way that this class works is it's structured and based on Kabbalistic teachings dating all the way back from Rabbi Akiva, and according to many people, even before that, to Avraham Avinu and Adam Arishon. There's a book called Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, and in that book, it goes through the shifting energies of the months of the year, and it details how in every month there is a let's go back a little bit. When Hashem made the world, he created the world with his 4-letter name, Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Now, that letter, that is the name of, when we say Hashem's name, right? That is for Hashem's tetragrammaton. That 4-letter name could be rearranged in 12 different ways. And we learn, according to Sefer Yetzirah, that Hashem rearranges the letters of that name in every month. And that is really like the first place where the energy shift. And then we also learned that Hashem creates every month through a different letter of the alphabet, because the alphabet is the building blocks of creation. It's the dibur, the speech that Hashem created the world through. And so Sefer Yetzirah guides us through the shifting energies of the month according to how the letters of Hashem's name are arranged, which letter of the alphabet Hashem created the month with, which zodiac sign Hashem put in charge and ruling during that month, which planet is ruling that month. Even the Shvatim, we have 12 tribes, Jewish tribes. Each one is connected to another month. We also have different physical bodily senses in our body. And in this month, we also have a different bodily sense. And we have the bodily sense of the month, the tribe, the permutation of Hashem's 4-letter name, the name of the month, and the zodiac astrological sign. And each month, we learn about these things in order that we can tap into the shifting energy and we can utilize it and maximize the growth that we can experience and the blessings and the gifts that we can experience in the month through knowing about what the energies are. We can really tap into it and get the most out of it. So let us dive right in. I'll give you a brief summary and then we'll go deeper into it. So the name of the month is Nissan. The Jewish name of the month is Nissan, which comes from the word Nes, which is a miracle. So it's a month of miracles. Namely, one of the biggest miracles we know about is Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf. We also have the astrological sign of the month I told you is Aries, Lamb, Taleh. The tribe of the month is Yehuda, which comes from Hodah and gratitude. The permutation of Hashem's name in this month is actually the only month where Hashem's name is in the exact order as it was in the time of creation. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. It's in the perfect order because it's the first month and the energy is coming in the perfect way, in a top-down flow from Hashem down to us in a perfect way. Just like on our birthday, we said in previous classes that we receive our energy in the perfect way because everything is aligned. In Nissan, everything's aligned as it was when Hashem created the world, and everything is flowing as naturally and unobstructed as possible, and we have very little effort that we need to put in Nissan. The letter of the month that Hashem sends through is one of the most divine letters and is the letter Hey. Hey is probably going to be the focus of today's class because the letter Hey, we talk about it so much. In Hashem's name, Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, there's 2 Heys in Hashem's name. Hey is connected to Pesach. Hey is connected to Nissan. Hey is actually how it says when Hashem created the world. It says Ela Toldo Shemayim Va'aretz. After Hashem finished saying in the Torah, after the Torah finishes detailing how Hashem made the 6 days of creation, it says Ela Toldo Shemayim Va'aretz B'Hei Baram. These are the chronicles of the heavens and earth when they were created. And the Chachamim and the Gemara say B'Hei Baram, that we can read that word B'Hei Baram as B'Hei Baram. That Hashem made all of them with the letter Hey. So truly everything is formed with the letter Hey because all of the world is formed through Hashem's speech, through the divine 22 letters of the divine letters. And Hey is the root of all the other letters. And we'll talk about that soon. And the sense of the month, the bodily sense of the month is speech and breath. It's speech, and Hey is speech, and it's the source of all letters and all talking. And that is the sense of the bodily sense of Nissan. Last month, if you remember, Adar was joy. The month before that was tasting, right? Before that was anger, sleeping. We have lots of different senses. And this month, we're focusing on our sense of speech and our breathing. We have a beautiful Rachel who keeps breathing and reminding us to take some breaths and breathe. So it's a time to breathe our Hey breath and speak. Okay, let us get deeper in. First, we'll start from the outer layers like an onion, and we'll get deeper and deeper into the core energy of the month. The outer layers, let's talk about the history of the month. In Nissan, Jewishly, historically, we have Aleph Nissan, which is tonight. Aleph Nissan, we discussed in this week's Parsha, and last week's Parsha, when the Mishkan was finished being created on Chaf Hey Kislev, but it wasn't until Aleph Nissan, I believe it was Yitzchak Avinu's birthday, that we initiated the Mishkan, that we started the Avoda of the Mishkan, that Moshe put it together all and started the Chanukah, started the actual Avoda in the Mishkan. So the Mishkan, the beginning of the service in the Mishkan began on Aleph Nisan. The next historical event that I can think of is on Yud Nisan, is when Hashem commanded the Jewish people in Egypt to tie a sheep, which is the Zodiac sign of this month, to their doorpost. The next day after that is 11th Nisan. It's a big Chabad day. It's the Rebbe's birthday, Yud Aleph Nisan. And then we have the middle of the month, which is Pesach, which lasts 7 days. And afterwards, 7 days later, was when Kriyas Yamsuf happened. So Yud Aleph Nisan at night, the core of the month, is when we left Egypt, 4 days after we tied the sheep to our doorpost. And then 7 days later, the ocean split for us. So that is the history of the month. One of the customs of the month is that the entire month we don't say Tachanun, because in times of joy, we don't say Tachanun and Tefillah and davening. So the whole Nisan is permeated with this festival of freedom, this time of joy. Some of the things that the Chachamim say about Nisan is in Gemara, Rosh Hashanah, the Chachamim say that B'Nisan Nigalu Avoseinu. In Nisan, our ancestors were redeemed, and in Nisan, Asidim Nigal. In Nisan, we will in the future be redeemed from the exile and the darkness that we're experiencing now. So Nisan is a time of Mashiach. It's a time that we are expecting redemption more than any other time. Okay. Another Nisan is not just Nes, miracles, because we also have the miracle of Hanukkah, the miracle of Purim. Nisan is different in that the miracles are extraordinary. It's Nisan, it's Nisei. The end of the Nisan it's Gemara. We tell us it's Nisei Nisim. It's unending miracles, unbounded miracle after miracle, unparalleled miracles. And it's Gemara actually tells us that anyone who sees Nisan in their Gemara Brachos says, that's the Gemara that goes through dreams. One of the things that it says there is that if somebody sees the word Nisan in his dreams, miracles will happen to him. It means continuous miracles. Nisei Nisim, miracles that are continuing. Let us go into now the Nisan being the first of the month, right? Jewish people weren't commanded to have the monthly calendar yet. This was a new thing that Hashem gave us the commandment of as we're experiencing. And in the days right before leaving Mitzrayim, Hashem says, I want you to Chodesh Ezelechem, this month, which is Nisan, will be Rosh Chadashim, will be the first of all the months. And from now on, I want you to count your calendar by the monthly cycle following the moon. And this is how you're going to set the new months. And Hashem showed Moshe a brand new moon. I said, when you see a brand new moon, the first crescent forming, that is the first of the new month that you will count for yourself, and the holidays will go according to the monthly cycle, to the lunar cycle. So what is the difference between the Rosh Chadashim and Rosh Hashanah, right? So Nisan is Rosh Chadashim, the first of the Jewish months, and Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah. So there's a lot of really beautiful parallels. Firstly, in Tefillah on Rosh Hashanah, we say Hayom Haras Olam. Do you know what that means? Harat? Karen? What? Harayon, pregnant. Today is the pregnancy of the world. Am I going to announce it? I thought maybe you know the word. I thought you know the word. Okay. Hayom Harat. Today is the pregnancy of the conception of the world. It's today Hashem conceived the world. So we actually learned that Tishrei is a time of conception, and Nisan is a time of rebirth. It's when we're birthed as a nation. So Nisan is a time of birth. Now, what's the difference between, again, these 2 months? So we could go to the words now. Let's go into the words of Shana and Chodesh. So we learn that the year follows the lunar cycle, the solar cycle, and the months follow the moon, right? And one of the biggest differences between the sun and the moon is this, that the sun, it says in Shlomo Melech says, Ein kol chadash tachas hashemesh. There's nothing new under the sun. The sun rises and sets the same time, right? It's very predictable. We know when it will rise. We know it will set. It follows the same pattern every single day. It rises and sets in the same place. We know where to look for it, and it's very predictable. The moon is different. And that's why it says the moon it always looks different. It doesn't look the same every day. It's not in the same place every day. The moon is larger, the moon is smaller, the moon grows in size, it grows in shape, and it changes constantly. And Jewish people, it says, are compared to the moon because we're always shifting. We're not always at the same stage. It's not like we have our ups and our downs and it's like a same cycle. Sometimes we're large, sometimes we're small. We wax and we wane, but the one thing that carries through always is that no matter how small we get, we'll always grow again. No matter how oppressed we are, no matter how down no matter how oppressed and exiled we are, we'll always grow again. Just like the moon will always reappear again, it'll always get fuller again. And so the Jewish nation is very much compared to the moon, which is why we count our months according to the moon. We also learn that the moon is the feminine, is connected to the feminine because women are more connected to this waxing and waning cycle than the men. The masculine or the male tendency is more linear, it's more straight, it is more predictable, and the feminine is the cycles, the ups and the downs, the waves, the when we feel our fullest and then we go inward. Even our bodily cycles follow that. These cycles when we are at our fullest and we feel strongest, we have outward creativity, and then we go inward, so like the moon retracts. So women, we have the most of these ups and downs, even in our bodies, right? We grow and we become smaller. We literally look like the moon in our bodies, and we follow the moon in our emotional cycles and our spiritual cycles when we feel connected and when we feel extroverted, or when we need to go inwards and recharge ourselves like the moon. So we also learned that Nissan is a feminine month. It's a month of feminine energy, like the moon. And the whole energy of Geula is also a feminine energy. We'll talk about that soon. So we said that the Rizal says that Tishrei is Haras Olam, and that Nissan is the month of birth. It's different than pregnancy, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So pregnancy is hard work. Being pregnant is hard work, even though it's not active work, it's passive work. And being born as well is a very passive thing. You don't work to be born. It's a gift given to you. Birth is something given to us. We don't work to be born. Hashem just births us. And Nissan is the same. The energy from Nissan, like we said, in the order of Hashem's name is Yod, Hey, Vav, and Hey. It's from Hashem down to below, in that it's the opposite of Tishrei. So let's break this down. In Tishrei, the avoda begins with us. It says, Ani ladodi, v'dodi li. I'm to my beloved. I begin the avoda. I begin the process of teshuvah, of reaching out to Hashem, and then Hashem responds in kind. In Elul, we do Ani ladodi, and in Tishrei, Hashem responds to us. So it's a response to our work. It's a time when we work really hard. Tishrei is full of avoda, full of tefillah, full of teshuvah, full of inner work. And Nissan is the exact opposite. Nissan is top down. It's called, in Kabbalistic terms, it's called Isurusa Dila'ela, an awakening from above. And Isurusa Dilatata is when it begins with an awakening from below. And these are, again, our feminine and masculine energies responding. In Tishrei, it says that there's we have more of the masculine energy where we have to initiate. That's the masculine idea of initiating. It's more of a masculine trait, and Hashem responds to us. And in Nissan, it's a much more feminine energy where the masculine initiates, where the energy of Hashem initiates, and Knesset Yisrael, which is feminine, is the one who reciprocates that energy or receives that energy. So it's called Urusa Dil'ela, which is Aramaic for an awakening from above. Kabbalistic terms for an awakening from above, an arousal from above. The miracles of Nissan, different than any other time, like Hanukkah, for example, are given to us just like birth as a gift from above that we don't do anything to ask for. If we ask for it, it's not a gift, it's a request. Right? If we ask for it, it's not a gift. A gift is something you can't ask for, or else it's not a gift anymore. It's an expectation. It's something earned. It's something given. It's not something given, right? Then it changes everything. If my kid says, you have to give me this, it's no longer a gift, right? It's like a bribe. It's something else. But a gift is something that you cannot ask for. It is just given to you, and you just have to receive it. There's no paying for a gift, and it's not a gift, right? You can't do anything to earn a gift, or else it's not a gift. It's a bribe, or it's a salary, or it's something earned, it's a reward, right? So Nissan, the energy of the miracles in Nissan have nothing to do with our avoda. Different than Hanukkah, where we had to have the emunah and the show that our emunah and Hashem to fight to get that, to receive that miracle, or in the Purim story, which we just went through, we had to have that fast, the 3-day fast, in order to earn it, to show our trust in Hashem, to receive and accept Hashem, even though he was hidden, etc. There's a lot of avoda that preceded the miracle. In Nissan, it is like a baby being birthed, and that's why it's called the time of birth. Now, let's go back to, we were talking about the sun and the moon and the difference between the sun and the moon. So the sun, we said, is predictable. That's a masculine trait. And the moon is the unpredictable. It's ever changing. And let's go into the words. The yearly cycle, which follows the sun, is called Shana, which comes from, in the word itself, we see Yashan, which means old. It is something we can expect. It's expected. And the moon, how do you say a month, Lise? A month, different than Shana? a chodesh, right? And chodesh comes from chadash, that the moon is chachus. It's always new. It's always different. Every day the moon looks different. It's not the same every single day. So the moon represents the ever-shifting, ever-changing, always different, and that is us, who we are as a nation. And we're also, our entire existence is miraculous. Just like that moon, it's a miracle that we, just like the month of Nisan is the month of Nissan, Hashem formed us and gave us the first month of our Jewish existence when we became Hashem's nation, happened in Nisan, because our entire existence of a nation is completely miraculous. Even the non-Jews, like Mark Twain, are completely perplexed by the fact that we continue to exist. The fact that we still exist is a huge miracle. The fact that we continue to pop up and regrow, it's like this miracle plant that, like, you kill it and then it just pops up again and again, right? We're destroyed and oppressed and then we just keep growing. And obviously it's this unending nisan from Hashem that keeps nurturing us and keeps reviving us from a godly ethereal energy. So this is a little bit about the energy of this is just the first layer, the outermost layer of Nisan, of where we come from, the miraculous energy of Nisan, our birth as a nation becoming from a true miracle from above, and how the whole avoda of Nisan is really from Hashem. Like a lamb just follows its leader. We don't really have much of an active role in Nisan. In Nisan, as opposed to all the other months where we have an active role in Nisan, our avoda is actually very, very passive. It's very feminine, where the feminine role, we'll get to that when we talk about the hay and the feminine passive role. So let's pause here. So that is the miraculous and unexpected of the ischachos, of the beginning of the months. So where it says, like Shlomo Melech says, in kol chadash tachas hashemesh, there's nothing new under the sun. The Zohar adds, but there is chadash tachas hayareach, that there is newness under the moon. There's just no newness under the sun. The moon is surprising and it's always new. Okay, so that was Nisan. Let us move on to we spoke a little bit about the permutation also, the Hashem's name, the Yud Hey Vav and Hey, receiving Hashem's light in a gentle and direct way. And now we're going to talk about the letter of the month, because that is probably the most letter which is directly tied to the bodily sense of the month. The one that's the most practical for us to actually tap into and utilize is the bodily sense of the month, which is speech and breath. And this month, it's connected more than ever to the letter which creates the month. And they're just intertwined. So we're going to talk about both of them at the exact same time. So the letter of the month, which is Hey, is the way that Hashem sends the energy to us in this month. Okay, so let's go to what Hey. Hey, we said, is Eila Tol Shemaim V'Aretz B'Hi Baram, that Hashem made the whole world through Hey. Hey is at the root of creation. There's the Yud 2 in Hashem's name. It's part of Hashem's name. It's at the root of all creation. Why is Hey the letter that Hashem created the entire world through? Why does it say that Hashem B'Hei Baram made the world with Hey? Because the world is created through speech. Because the speech in this month is our creative power. It's our power to exist. It's our power to communicate. And it's our power to take something from non-existing to making it exist in a tangible and real way. We create so much with our speech. We create love with our speech. We can build somebody up with our speech, and we can break down with our speech. We can literally create worlds and break down worlds with our speech. A child will remember his whole life if somebody's told him that he can be an artist when he's older, that he's such a talented artist, or when somebody told him that you'll never be able to, when a child says, I want to be the princess when I grow up, and they say, that's not possible, right? You can break down, or when you say you're not good enough, you need help, you're not enough. You can break down an entire life with one word, and you can create an entire life with one word. Our power of speech is to create so much. We create stories. We can create lashon hara, right? We're saying negative speech. We learn that we can murder. It's actually an act of murder. And the Rebbe says from the negative, we learn the positive, that the power of speech, lashon hara, is like killing somebody, and how much more so our power to speak positively about somebody, even not in their presence. We can create a reality. So we know that our creative power, we can only create through speech, through the letters of speech. Even if somebody can't physically talk, the letters of speech are all the powers of creativity. Everything comes through the letters of speech, the letters of thought. And let's talk about why Hey is speech, right? So let's break this down. We said that the world is created through Hey. Hey is speech. Hey is our power to create. Why is Hey connected to speech, right? So Hashem created the world through His speech, right? Hashem manifested our world into creation just by speaking them. Hashem spoke and it existed. Similarly, our speech creates, like we speak something and now it is there. It is out there. It's there. We can't take it back. It says taking back something bad you said about somebody is like gathering feathers. It's gone. You can never take back words you said. It's a real creative power. So our speech is our creative power, but why is it the letter Hey, right? That's what we said. Speech is a creativity. Hashem made the world through speech. What's the connection to the letter Hey? So Hey is actually the root of all the 22 letters of the alphabet. The alphabet is 22 channels that Hashem brings energy into the world. Hashem flows energy through these 22 letters, and they each have different physical forms and spiritual forms and abstract forms. And through the forms of those letters, Hashem sends out different types of light into the world, different energy forms into the world: limited, flowing, blocked, communicative, outward, inward, love, hate, so many different types of energy. And all that together, the combination of those two and the tzirufim we learn according to Kabbalah, create every single creation. Every physical creation is a mixture of letters. And this is actually how Adam Arishon's intense wisdom that set him apart from all other angels was his ability to know what to name things. How did he know what to name something? He would look at something, he would see how the energy flowed into it. For example, it says, and the Medrash Adam looked at the ox and said, "This is a shore." How did he know? Because he was able to see the way that the divine energy flows to it. And he says the energy is flowing to him through a shin, a vav, and a resh, and that makes shore. So he was able to name it based on how the divine energy is flowing into him, what type of vessels, right? Divine energy is pure and it's just light, but light changes based on the vessel, right? When we have different colors of light and different lamps and different amounts of light, it's based on the vessel that contains the light. So really, if we are going to the actual words, the letters are vessels. The light is so the light is just the divine light, which is the Hey. And the different shapes of the letters are the vessels that change that light. There are different colors or different shapes that filter that light differently, right? We have lights that are strobe lights. We have lights that are colors. We have lights that are warms and whites. If anyone is a photographer, you know how much lighting is affected by the vessel that contains the light, by the shape, size of the light bulb. But all light is just pure light that comes out in one way, and it's changed by the vessels. So the letters are different vessels that take that light and make it different, the light of Hashem and the energy of creation, and make it different. And that's how we're all different in creation. If not for the letters, we would all just be one godly, beautiful, united energy, and there'd be no ability to have differences, to have difference of opinions, to have jealousy, to have things to work on, to be different, to have struggles, to choose, to have any free choice at all. So all differences in this world, all of creation comes from, but this is all to summarize that, okay, let's backtrack and summarize. Hashem created the world through speech. Specifically, he chose 22 vessels, which are the letters of the 22 letters of the alphabet, which are different vessels to take the unfiltered, undivisive light of Hashem and divide it up so that there can be endless types of creations in this world. And the way that creations are created are through different sirufim, which are combinations of the letters of Hashem. And when something is, the more finite something is, it says, as Hashem created the world, the more physical something is, like a rock, the more times the letters have to be interchanged with one another to get to dilute the light and diminish the light and filter the light out. Like if you listen to the class, which I'll link over here on Tzimtzum, then you'll understand what I mean by diminishing and diffusing the light and in a deeper way. So this is all a lot of background, which really we should say for the Tanya Chassidus class, the Sunday class. But what I'm trying to get to is that there's and from all the letters, so where's Hey fall into this? There's 22 letters, but Hey is really the breath and the sound that comes into all the letters equally. And then the letters then take that Hey. So Hey is the Ha, the breath. We can't speak without breath. And it's also, there's two types of Hey. There's masculine Hey, which is Ha, which has a sound Ha, which is in all the letters. It's just the voice, Ha, which has the Hey sound. And then there's the silent Hey, which we have at the end of a word, like Chana, your name has a in it, which is different, which is the breath Hey, that doesn't have a sound, it's just the breath that's also needed to create all the other letters. So Hey is actually the source of all speech. So in physically, if you study the Kabbalah goes through different types of letters and different parts of the mouth that they use and what they present Kabbalistically and different channels from above. And we won't go into it today, or maybe, I don't know, ever. It is very deep, but and very complicated. But we do learn that Hey is the source of all the letters, comes from Hey, from the two types of Hey, the masculine Hey, which is an active Hey, Ha, and the passive Hey, which is the feminine Hey, which is just, which doesn't have an actual voice coming to it. Okay, so Hey is the source of all speech physically in how it's manifested physically, and above as it is above. So that is where Hey comes in, and why Hey is the source of speech, and why Hey is the source of creation, and why it says that with Hey Hashem made the world. And now let's talk about, so now that we can see that Hey is the root and potential of all speech and all sound, and we now know that speech is the potential of all creation, and Hey is also the potential of all miracles. Okay, so to get to any miracle, we need to go to Hey. So Hey is the source of miracles, and we see this in the Torah with Avram and Sarah. Okay, so Avram and Sarah, their names, before they were childless, and in the stars, astrologically, naturally, they were made in a way that they were barren. They were unable to conceive children. Avram and Sarai were their names. And now Hashem wanted them to do a miracle for them and give them a child so that they can parent the Jewish nation. So to make this miracle, what did Hashem do? Hashem made it through the letter Hey. Hashem took the letter Hey and added it to each of their names. He took Avram's name and gave him the active Hey, the masculine Hey, which is Avraham. So his name became Avraham. And he took the passive Hey, which is just the breath without actually the Ha sound, and he added it to Sarai's name and made her name into Sarah. It actually says that the Yud, and where did the Yud go of Sarai's name? It was divided into two because Sarah had too much light and not enough vessel to make a child. So he took the Yud from Sarai's name. This is very technical Kabbalistic, so you could just ignore it. And he divided it into two. And so Yud is 10, is the gematria of 10, divided into two, and took 5 and gave it to Avram, 5 and gave it to her. And now they both had the power of creation because they didn't have the power to create. So Hey, A gave them the power to create because Hey is where creation happens. And it gave them the power to have this miracle because Hey is the miraculous. So now, how do miracles happen? I don't know, but this is what I've heard in Kabbalah. I don't actually know, but that to get to a miracle is to go into something's form, to change the form of something as it is in the world. A miracle would be if this cup of coffee becomes a cup of tea, right? That would be a miracle. If I transform this into a cup of water, you say, wow, that's a miracle, right? Or wine, glass of wine, thank you. If this turned into a full glass of wine, that would be a miracle, right? Because that doesn't usually happen. So to get to a miracle, we actually learn, and I don't really, is that we have to go back to the where everything is the same, and go, if we get to the source of where all of Hey, basically, where all letters are the same, there's no division, then over there we can change things. So getting to Hey, which is getting to the space above any division, it's getting to that just creative power where everything is the same in that level of Hey. It's all oneness. It's all batel. There's no differences. There's no me and there's no you. We're all one. So getting to Hey allows us to have that miracle where we can change form, because on that level of Hey, wine and coffee are no different. They're just both creations. They're just energy. They're just unfiltered energy. The divisions come as the light comes into vessels. When the light has no vessels, when it's just light, there is no difference. Vessels make the light. So when we go back up to Hey, where things have no difference, that's where we can perform, and that's where miracles happen, getting back to that level of Hey. Anyways, that was just a tangent. So L'chaim, let's see what happens. Not yet.
Keep us updated.
So the way that we draw down these miracles is getting back to the original Hey, so that's why in this month of miracles, we have the Hey of creation, going back to the Hey. And that represents one of the biggest things of NISSAN, which is humility. The Hey is really the Hey of humility. Now, let's talk about the differences where Hey, the letter Hey is manifested. Okay, I could just shoot out. Literally, I could spend hours here talking about how we see Hey in Pesach and in NISSAN, but I'll just give you a couple. Okay, firstly, Pesach, we stop eating. The main mitzvah, the only mitzvah that's from the Torah on Pesach, is actually not eating chametz and eating matzah. Everything else is rabbinic. The 4 cups of wine, the maror, the carbon Pesach. Well, the carbon Pesach originally was rabbinic, but nowadays you would be Yotze Pesach if you just stopped eating chametz and had matzah. In fact, it's like Heis. If somebody doesn't do that, in the olden days, his soul would have spiritual exegesis and he would die because he couldn't get. And nowadays, we would continue to live because we can get our life source from impure places because the Shekhinah doesn't call us. Anyways, cut that out. That's just too sorry. Anyways,
There's no such concept of karis anymore.
There is karis, but we don't die. So his soul would continue to live. If somebody does it, he's still chayav karis, but he could live because he could get his life source from impure places because the Shekhinah is in Golos. That's a Kabbalistic idea, which will be another class. So what was I saying? Remind me. Anyone remember where we were at? Okay, so Hey in the story. Okay, so matzah, the main mitzvah of matzah is stopping to eat chametz and matzah. Now, chametz and matzah are opposite, but their words are almost identical. The difference between chametz and matzah, the letters are almost the same. Both chametz and matzah both have a mem and a tzaddik, right? In the Hebrew names. But chametz has a chet and matzah has a Hey. So literally all of Pesach is taking the ches of chametz and making it into a Hey. Now, the difference between a ches and a Hey are almost identical as well. Because truly, chametz and matzah are almost the same food as well. The chametz and matzah are the same thing. They're both bread, right? The only difference is that one bread rises and one bread is flat. And because of that, we celebrate. We clean our houses for a month, right? And clean out our whole house and have an entire new kitchen because of the same bread that we have to eat, but one is flat and one rises, right? Doesn't that seem crazy? To somebody who didn't grow up with this, they're just like, yeah, we're emptying out my house because my bread cannot be. Thank you. So let me just show you. Look, here's the chametz and here's the matzah. Hopefully it's not backwards, right? They're almost the same, right? Mem tzaddik, the same. Ches and Hey different. So chametz starts with the chet, and matzah starts with the Hey. So the words look almost identical. And eating chametz is eating any bread and water which is fluffy, and eating matzah is eating the same exact thing, but it hasn't risen, right? And the reason given in the Torah, or the reason that we and is that we eat matzah to remember our fathers who were running out of Egypt. By the way, we have a whole class on matzah, so this is just about the hay part. But we're running out of Egypt, and their matzah didn't have time to rise, right? So their matzah their dough didn't have time to rise and become bread. So it was right when they were in such a big haste to remember how fast it was that they left Egypt. To remember, it also reminds us the miracle that from 1 minute to the next we were redeemed. 1 minute we were enslaved, we thought we would never be free, and the next minute it was so fast. And it really empowers us to know that we can be in the darkest situation, and in 1 minute we could be redeemed, just like our fathers. It took a blink of an eye, herif ayin, and then they were free. And it was so fast that their dough didn't have time to become, their matzah dough didn't have time to become chametz. It wasn't chametz, which is risen dough. It remained flat, and then the sun in the desert baked it, and they ate matzah. So remember that we eat matzah, right? Now, this begs the question, this is be the matzah class, that if Hashem, if they had 1 more hour, Pesach would be totally different, right? Does that mean that if 1 more hour had happened during that time, if they had made their bread an hour earlier, right, or the day before, then Pesach wouldn't be the way it is, because their dough would have risen, they would have had fluffy bread, we wouldn't have to clean our houses for Pesach, we would be eating chametz, right? Everything would be different. So is it just a coincidence of 1 hour that all of our Pesach cleaning is happening? No way, Jose says Chasidic. There's way deeper ideas to chametz and matzah. It is not everything about Pesach. Let me just clarify. Everything about Pesach is not just the physical act that we're doing. If you think that, you're missing a lot of Pesach. If you think that Pesach cleaning is just about getting rid of chametz, you're missing everything. Pesach cleaning is a spiritual process. Eating chametz is eating matzah and not chametz is a spiritual process. It's just reflected in the physical bread that we eat, and that's something we could do to make it physical and to bring the mitzvah into our body. But what's going on is something very spiritual. So what's going on actually is that chametz represents so chametz and matzah are almost identical. They represent difference. Let's start about physical bread, right? The difference between risen bread and flat bread is that one is fluffy. Chametz and matzah are almost the same, except that one is fluffy, which represents ego, which represents pride, which represents being full of yourself, feeling full and feeling proud and feeling like a whole person, like a big person. And matzah is the same thing, but I'm the same person. Nothing changed except that I feel smaller. My situation didn't change, right? It's not like I'm broken or something bad happened to me. It could be that I have all the gifts in the world. One, I feel like I share, or I could have the same share, but I feel like I'm just a vessel to receive it from Hashem. It could be the exact same scenario. It is the same bread, but one feels like it's me, it's my pride, I'm full of myself, and the other one feels flat and feels humbled and feels grateful and say, this share is all Hashem. I'm just a vessel to give over what Hashem wants to send through me, right? And it's a different awareness. So it's just taking the ches and hey. So now let's go actually into the ches and the hey. The ches and the hey are almost identical letters, right? Ches is a line on top and a line on the side, a line on the bottom. Hey is a line on top, a line on the side, and a line on the other side. The only difference is that this little crack, the hay is literally a chet with a crack in it.
The yud is missing.
The yud, exactly. So actually it's brought down, now that you're mentioning it, that the planet that rules during this month, which I wasn't going to talk about, is Mars. Mars is created with the letter Daled. Oh, never mind. The yud is missing. Never mind. That was Daled. Ignore that.
Same thing.
But Daled,
Cut that one out.
Daled is, yeah, cut that out. I don't want to confuse you. So the ches and hay are almost identical, but one has a crack. So what we learn from here is the chametz, which represents our pride, represents our ego, which represents feeling like I am great. I'm great because my successes are my own. My failures are my own, right? Feeling like all my failures are because of me, because I'm the one who messed up. That's ego, by the way. Ego doesn't always mean feeling good. Ego could mean feeling terrible about yourself because you failed at something. That's ego. True humility is saying, I didn't fail. Hashem, everything that happens is from Hashem. Only if I did my best, right? If you put your best effort, if I prepare my shiur the same as usual and nobody shows up, or it becomes out a flop, it's the most egotistical thing to say, I messed up today. You did nothing, right? The shiur is not on you. If you work so hard at an event to do something and it fails and you feel like bad about yourself, you're taking on Hashem's role. You're not God. Hashem is the one, the results of everything in our lives are up to Hashem, whether it's good or bad. Right? So often ego, that's a separate class about what ego looks like, what ego is and isn't, and how the myths about what ego is. But ches and hey chametz represents being proud of ourselves, feeling like what goes on in my life, whether I'm successful, whether I fail, the results of my efforts, our mine. And hey is the same thing. It's the same situation in life happens to me, but there's an opening above for Hashem to look upwards. It's not being completely closed off and thinking this is me. I'm a closed vessel. It's all me. There's an opening for Hashem. So hay is what all of life is created as well. All of our world is created and resembles this hay. That we can only, hay represents really the true reality of life. Is that I have my thought, my speech, and action, which are the three legs of the hay, the three lines of the hay. But I always remember that everything comes from Hashem. There's that opening above to receive everything from Hashem and to know that I'm a vessel. I am Ches is a vessel as well, but I'm a vessel with an opening above to know that everything that I am today is from Hashem. And I always like to, when I remember before a class, especially if I'm feeling nervous, to just close my eyes and meditate for a moment and imagine myself as a vessel, that I'm just a vessel to receive whatever Hashem wants me to teach and then give it out through the bottom. So Ches as well has ability to give out and to give over, and a Hay has ability to give over, but a Hay receives from above and then gives forward. And that is actually the essence of all speech. A person who's able to talk but has no ability to receive, who has no mind to think, her brain doesn't work, then they cannot give over. Because true speech is first receiving letters, receiving wisdom from our wisdom, from our brain. And then our mouth is really just a vessel, like a hay. Our mouth is literally has an opening to receive above, to receive from our brain, and then to go out from the other side. Our mouth has two openings, right? One inside to receive information, to receive knowledge, to receive wisdom, to receive something to give over, and then the other side to emit, to give out that. That's what a hay is. A hay is the ability to create and speak. You need to be able to receive and then to create. So that is truly what the letter Hay resembles. The opening above is the ability to receive from a higher place, to be humbled, to have humility. And that is really the essence of the entire Pesach. It's a week to cut out ego for 1 week, because ego is not bad, right? And that's why Pesach is not the whole year intentionally. And we don't have to get rid of Chametz all year long, because ego Hashem made for us, because we can only live if we have ego, if we have a sense of self, a sense of identity, a sense of being different, a sense of being unique. But our ego always has to have that hay in it, always has to have the ability to know that all of it is from Hashem, and Hashem could take it away in a moment, Hashem could give it to someone else, and that I'm just a vessel receiving it. And on Pesach, we get a little bit more extreme than that. On Pesach, we say, I want no ego. I want to be as flat as a matzah for 1 week, because it's a spiritual detox from ego. It's a cleansing for 1 week of a cleanse. It doesn't have to be forever. Just like we had a cleanse of our taste, or in Shvat, of refining our taste. It's a 1 week cleanse from any connection to pride or ego, so that we can re-enter our relationship with identity and self from a higher place after Pesach. So ego isn't evil. Chametz, right? If ego was evil, then we wouldn't have a commandment of fluffy big matzahs every single Shabbos, right? So ego isn't bad. We want the fluff. We want to feel proud to be a part of the Jewish nation. We want to be proud to be Hashem's army. We want to be proud of the gifts Hashem gave us, right? But we can only have true chametz that's Hashem-centered and pride that comes from Hashem if we are able to have bittul. So 1 week a year, Hashem says, I want you to detox and take away all of your toxic ego and get rid of all of that toxic chametz, so you can have true chametz. You can have true pride that comes from Hashem. Your challahs are Hashem's challahs. They're not because I made these great challahs, because I'm like so talented. So the chametz can either be God-centered or it could be me-centered. And Pesach is our week detox from all chametz, so we can come back into our relationship with identity and greatness and know that it's all from Hashem after this week ends. There's a whole other class we're going to talk about. Stay tuned for why it's this week, what happens during Pesach, the shifting energy specific. So this class is about NISSAN. So to summarize, we said that Hay is the energy and the root of all creative power of speech. And it is also the energy of all Pesach, because Hay is the main mitzvah of Pesach is to take chametz, the ches of chametz, and then make a crack in it above for the matzah, to turn it into a Hay, which is to turn it into the word matzah. So, and really to just take that high fluffy matzah and to bring it down, the chametz, and to flatten it and make a matzah, to be humbled by the matzah. Matzah is humble bread. It's bread of poor people. It's bread of humility. It's bread of our humble ancestry. And chametz is that pride that we're avoiding for 1 week. And all of Pesach cleaning is this. All of Pesach cleaning is an internal process, really, because even though I'm going away for Pesach and I'm not spending Pesach here in Israel in my house, I don't have to Pesach clean because I'm going to my sister's house, which is cleaned. I'm still Pesach cleaning, because Pesach cleaning is not about having a home that's clean for Pesach only. Pesach cleaning is a process that happens in our soul. It's a process of removing chametz from my soul. I'm returning my soul back to a state of matzah. It says, my Saba, alav shalom. Okay, let me talk about Pesach cleaning. Pesach cleaning is a process of removing any chametz, any pride, any ego, unhealthy, toxic ego that is telling me on my soul, that's weighing on me and covering me from being my greatest self. So I'm going to connect this all back to what we said about NISSAN in the beginning, that NISSAN, our avoda, is very passive. Because when you're receiving a gift from somebody, you don't have a work to do. You're just receiving the gift. You can't work for it, because then you earned it, then it's a reward. What can you do? If someone's giving you a ton of gifts and you don't have space for it in your house, you can't receive the gift. Our entire avoda and NISSAN is we're cleaning out Pesach, taking out things from our home physically, so we can make room for the newness of Pesach, for the gifts of freedom, for the gifts of Yeshua, the gifts of the Nisim that Hashem has for us, all of the miracles and all of the being cheros and being the freedom that comes inside of our soul. We can only receive that gift from above. It's a birth. It's a time to receive that freedom. We can only receive it if we have space to receive those gifts. So Nissan, the whole abode of all of Nissan is clearing space to receive all the gifts Hashem wants to give us, so we have room to get it, right? It actually says that ego, it's brought in the Gemara, that it says about a person's ego, that ein ani v'hu yicholim he and I can't live in the same space. When someone is full of himself, there's no room for Hashem. When someone makes so much space, it says, I can't come in a place where there's ego. I can only come where there's humility. There's no room for Hashem. So someone said, where is God? Wherever we let him in. We have to make that crack in that hay above. So that hay, but that crack in the hay, the turning the chametz into matzah, the Pesach cleaning, all of it is an inner process of removing ego and removing anything that's blocking us from receiving the light from Hashem. Any feelings of pride, which could look like negative self-talk, saying that I'm not enough, right? And denying the brachas Hashem gives us, saying I'm not great, saying that's ego. Who are you to say that Hashem made you every day with a power, with greatness? Who are you to deny the greatness of Hashem? Any toxic thing that is covering up our true greatness of our neshama, Pesach cleaning is an inner process of getting rid of that, getting rid of all the garbage, the things that we may have accumulated over the year. And that's why spring cleaning, it's a time to shed layers. We shed so many layers in Pesach to make room, right? We're all in shorts. We're getting rid of all the layers, all the coats. We're putting them away, all of our hats. We're getting rid of layers physically in this time of Nissan. We're getting rid of things in our house. Even everyone feels this shifting of wanting to remove layers, because over the winter in the darker months, we accumulate a lot of baggage. We accumulate layers that cover up our soul, clothing, things in our home. We accumulate spiritually so many defense mechanisms we may have accumulated over the year from our fears, from our insecurities, from our ego that may have made us have to cover up and protect ourselves. And Pesach is the time to shed all of that. We go through our house and we're like, okay, we don't need this in our house. Let's get rid of everything we don't need, all the excess garbage. And in our soul, we're getting rid of all the excess garbage. And in my new way of thinking about this year is I'm unsubscribing to things that I subscribe to, right? I subscribe to way too many channels, way too many email lists over the year. And I'm like, I don't need this anymore, right? I subscribe to way many shopping things. So I'm unsubscribing. Unsubscribing means that in order to get rid of physical things in your home, which is like part of Pesach cleaning, right? You have to like detach your connection to it. You have to emotionally detach from it, right? Marie Kondo and many other people help you like realize that getting rid of things is a very emotional process. It's not a physical process. You have to emotionally detach from things that you're holding on to. And throughout the year, I feel like I subscribe, and we all subscribe to ideas that I need to be this way to be successful. I need to be good enough. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not capable of doing this. We subscribe to so many ideas. I need to close myself down from connection. I need to do this. I need to be this way, right? We have so many toxic subscriptions that we make. We just attach ourselves to. And Pesach is a time to see what we subscribe to over the year that we want to unsubscribe from now. So cleanse and to release and to shed layers. And that's how I think of it. I'm like, I'm going to unsubscribe to that belief that I've believed this whole year, that I've maybe taken on this year, right? Until now, I believe this and it's holding me back. So we think about what is holding me, weighing me down from being my most essential, greatest self, and from being unbridled. If I can picture myself now without any limitations, physical, time, money, constraints, inner beliefs, any fears of anybody, if I could be like myself as a goddess, right? Unbridled, and then picture who you would be, right? If you could be everything, right? If you could be changing the world as you are with whatever gifts you want to light up. Now try and think about what things are holding you back from that and just unsubscribe from those things. Say, I'm subscribing from that list. That's holding me back. I'm going to donate this. This has served me well for now. It was protecting me when I needed it, but now I don't need this coat anymore, right? I don't need to be protected from the cold anymore. I have this gift and warmth that Hashem wants to give me in this month, and I need to get rid of all my coats, all the protective gear I put upon myself, all the ways I close myself off from receiving the light. So our whole avodah Nissan is really passive, but it's active. It's an active passivity. It's passive because we're receiving the miracles and the gifts of this greatness that Hashem is giving us to be slaves 1 second and then be our ungreatest self in the next second comes from above. We have nothing to do to earn it. We don't need to earn it. We don't need to deserve it. We do nothing. Hashem took us like a baby doesn't need to be deserve or earn birth. But we do need to make space if we want to internalize the gifts. If we want the gifts to stay in our homes and not just pass over us. If we want the gifts to enter and be absorbed in our bodies and our hearts and our souls. If we want the freedom to last all year, we want to clear anything that's blocking us from receiving it in the greatest way. So it's a time to detox, to throw things out, to physically. So for me, Pesach cleaning became not just a act of cleaning my house so that my house is clean of Chametz for Pesach, but it's an inner act. As you're physically removing things, you're also directing that inwards. It's like inner child work. As you're parenting your children, you should direct that. I've learned to direct that compassion towards the inner child in me that needs that compassion at that moment too, right? That's struggling. So as we're cleaning outwards, we're directing it to our soul as well, and we're releasing something, even if we're not always conscious of exactly what it is. To just say, let me take off something, and if something comes up that's weighing us down, say, I'm gonna just unsubscribe from that right now, right? I don't need this right now. Thank you for what you've done for me. I'm gonna donate you to the next person. I'm gonna put you right in the trash, right? Maybe someone else needs you, but not me, right? Your time to go to a new person. This is not a belief that I need to attach myself to. So unattach. I love the unsubscribe word because it helps me unattach to myself to something, right? It still exists, but it's not for me. I'm not subscribed to that belief anymore. I'm not subscribed to that channel, right? All of the Instagram channels that I chose to unsubscribe to are the ones that make me feel like I need to be a certain size, I need to look a certain way. I unsubscribe from those because I don't, maybe that's good for somebody else to be fit and healthy, but I don't want to subscribe to that channel because right now I need self-love and self-compassion. I subscribe to body positive people, right? I'm subscribing to what's good for me and what I need to be my greatest self. So unsubscribing doesn't mean it's evil. It just means it's not for me. This is bad. This is for somebody else, right? It's bad for me. So I'm not going to follow people and follow beliefs that don't work for me to be my greatest greatest self. Now, all this is hey, literally. Hey is making space. It's opening ourselves up. It's breaking ourselves a little bit. It's taking that ches and opening it up to receive from higher, and breaking the matzah represented as well. Okay, so now let's talk about a few more heys. Oh, this class is so long. Okay, hey in the Agada. Hey is the source of all Pesach. Is actually speech. So we said we're talking about speech. We talk about hey is two things. So far, hey is humility because it's breaking open. You're broken. When you're full and you feel complete and you feel like I'm all great, then you're a ches. When you break yourself open and say, I'm not complete, I'm just a half a person, I need Hashem to complete me, I'm just a vessel, right? It's the same class that I say, I'm just a vessel to receive Hashem's light. It's the same lesson, but here I'm humble. Here I could be humbled. And I'm a hey and not a ches. So hey is humility. It's taking that ches and that pride and being humbled by recognizing that everything comes from somewhere else, from above, and I'm just a vessel to receive and pass on. That is the feminine. Let me just talk about this. This is the feminine in our body, in every person, masculine, male and female. The hey is the power of creation. So we learn that we have a mouth above to talk, which is speech, which is Pesach. We'll talk about that. And then we actually learn in Kabbalah that our womb and our lower reproductive organs are our lower mouths. That's why in Hashem's name we have the Yud Hey, which is the higher mouth, which is speech, and the lower mouth, which is Malchus, which is creation. So let me talk about what that means. So hey, the feminine is the power of speech and the power of creation. The womb is exactly the same. The feminine part in creation is the hey part. The Vav part is the sperm, is the masculine part, which literally creates seed and projects outward, just like the Vav projects downwards. The feminine part of creation is passive, but very active, but passive in that way that it receives. It doesn't create or initiate. It receives the seed of life in its womb. So it has a space where it opens from above, like the hay above, where it receives the seed, it houses it in it, and then it births from the bottom a new child. Literally, the hay is the feminine power of creation down below. Just like speech above receives information, receives wisdom, and passes it through, or receives hatred and beings that whatever person is going to create receives love and gives that out. The womb below, the hay creation receives life, source life, and gives it outwards. And that's the power of feminine creation. Our way of creating in the feminine way, we all have masculine. We're all made up of masculine and feminine. So the masculine is outward projection, it's creativity, it's chachma, it's conquering, it's moving outward. And the way of feminine creation is the aspect of receiving, nurturing growth, nurturing potential in that feminine space. So the feminine space is the month of Nissan, which nurtures potential and creativity, which is actually Aries. Aries is a fire sign. And people who are Aries have a lot of power of creativity and creative power, a lot, very, very, very strong creative power, which leads to ego. Because when someone is so creative, they feel I'm creative. They feel it comes from them. When they're such a fire sign, when they're initiators, Aries are initiators, they're leaders. There's a lot of potential for ego, and that's why an Aries has to be humbled. And remember that yes, you're creative, yes, you have so much, but you're a hey, it comes from above, it comes from somewhere, right? It's not from you, it's from Hashem. All of your wisdom and creativity is from a higher source. And if Hashem could give it to someone else, who maybe they could do something greater with you. And that's where we learned that Moshe, who was the greatest man, was also the most humble man, because he knew, yes, I'm great, but it's from Hashem. Hashem could give it to somebody else. Aaron would do a better job with it than I would, right? So that's the humility to know, yes, he's the greatest man on earth, but he also knew that it's all from a higher source. So hey is this power of creativity. So feminine creativity is creating a space for nurturing creativity, nurturing growth, nurturing potential, and then bringing out that creativity through the other side. But true humble hay and humble creativity is its greatest when it has this opening to above, and that's when creativity keeps flowing, and it's ongoing, when it's endless and continuous, because it receives from above. From above, there's no limits. From Hashem, the creativity can just keep coming and flowing. So when we open ourselves up to something higher, we are a vessel. We become a hay and a vessel to receive light and creative force, physically creating children, wisdom, art, love, and we nurture that in our feminine space, and then pass it on and gift it back to the world. And we have an endless flow of creative nurturing. So the feminine womb space is not just for creating children; it's a place where we nurture our children, when we have a way of nurturing people who come into our homes, right? Where we see, like the way my mother did chesed, and my father also with the feminine in him, was to like not just give money to somebody, but bring the person into the home, give them a space. That's how I learned to when someone comes for money, it's not just about giving them the money. That's the masculine part, right? I give you, right? The feminine part is welcoming them into a space of nurturing, of healing, of making them feel loved and feeling special, feeling grateful to them for the opportunity to give tzedakah, feeding them a warm meal, giving them that space to grow and cultivate them. That's that feminine nurturing, as opposed to the masculine nurturing, which is giving, right? And it says that the man in the old-fashioned way, it would say that in the Gemara, it says the man brings home the bread. This is a metaphor, and the man brings home the wheat or the money, and the woman turns it into bread, right? Now we grew up where my father is the one who made the bread, literally at a bread machine. He's the one who cooked, but that was that feminine. So the feminine is what takes that bread or the potential and takes the wheat or the potential and nurtures it and cultivates it into something that could be nurturing and satisfying long term. So we learned that feminine nurturing is actually satisfying in a much longer and deeper way than masculine nurturing, because it has longer effects. And that's a whole other class which we're going to do, called men are from matzah, women are from wine, and why wine has a longer effect in our body than matzah. But stay tuned for that. That's going to be next week. Okay, in the evening.
I'm gonna stay.
You're not what?
I'm gonna stay in Israel.
You're gonna stay in Israel? Well, it's gonna be online. It's gonna be on our YouTube channel. Okay, we're at 52 minutes. Let us wrap this all up. Hey in Pesach in speech. So hey has the aspect of humility, of breaking up the top of the gap on top, to know that we are broken people. We're not whole. We're not a whole ches, because I'm broken in the best way possible, right? I'm broken because I have an opening above to receive. And that's the only way I can truly create, is when I have a place to receive. I can only create if I have something to receive from, and to be aware of that. So the ches is like the unaware. It's the same thing, but it thinks that it's all of itself, and then it gets prideful. And when it's broken, it doesn't have the chance to get prideful. So that is the avodah of Nissan, to make space, and by being broken, and by being humble, and by being flat, and by removing, that's the aspect of removing pride, to make space for the gifts of Nissan. Now, moving on to the aspect of speech, of the upper hay of Hashem's name. That is the whole core of the Pesach Seder. Okay, this is it, guys. The other mitzvah Pesach in the Torah, besides for eating matzah, is also connected to hay. It says, "V'higadeta lebincha bayomahu." You should speak over. One of the main mitzvahs that Hashem commands us to do is not just eat matzah, but to tell over the story of our miracle. We don't just tell it over on Pesach. We say it every single day. B'chol dar v'dar, b'chol yom v'yom. We mention it in the memories every day. But so the mitzvah of Higadeta is every day, especially on the anniversary of our Yetzias Mitzrayim. We have this mitzvah to tell, to speak. Now, this is manifested through the Haggadah, through the Seder, and through the letter Hey, in so many cool ways. Okay, where in the Seder do we see the mitzvah actualized and V'higadet alabincha? Which are the 15 steps? Magid, right? Magid is which step of the 15 steps of the Seder? Kadesh, Orchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Magid. What's number 5? Number 5, Hey. Hey is 5. So the 5th stage of the Seder, the main thing is Magid, V'higadet alabincha. Now, do you guys remember, in the Haggadah, what is the first prayer that we say in Magid? How does Magid begin? The 5th. Hey lachmanya, with word hey. Not just the letter hey. Hey lachmanya. So Magid begins with hey. Here is the bread of our affliction. So we have the hey of hey lachmanya. We have the beginning of the Haggadah. We have hey being the Gadat alabincha, of speaking. The whole mitzvah Pesach is to speak, is to talk about the miracles. And speech is the redemption of the slavery, of the slaves, because the slaves were people who weren't allowed to have free speech, who had no power to express themselves. And speech is our creativity. And it says that when we were freed, Hashem, one of the biggest ways Hashem freed us was giving us back the ability to speak, to have our power to be free through our speech. And the ability of telling over the story from the other side is that ability to manifest. There's a lot about being about slaves being silent and speaking. I'm not going to get into it today. So let me see if I missed anything. It's a long class. Okay. One more connection to Pesach about speaking. It says that Paro, you could say the name Paro, and you could say Pera. So Nissan is all about transforming negative speech into freeing ourselves through positive speech, because we can speak to elevate ourselves or we can speak to destroy. So Paro literally is the letters of Pera, a bad speech, because he broke down everything. He broke down all communication, and that's how slavery happened, when there's a breakdown of all communication and all connection. And Pesach is the opposite. It's taking Pera and turning it into Pesach. It says that you can look at the word Pesach, it's brought down, and it's Pesach. Pe is a mouth, Sach that communicates. The opposite of Paro is communication. When Paro promoted slavery, the opposite of that, the freedom from that, is Pesach, which is communication. Not having breakdown of communication, but having better communication. And it says actually that Hashem says, I will take you out, Leman to Saper, so that you can tell over. So a lot of speaking has to do with this month. It says anyone who, the more one speaks and tells over the story, and Chana here is a narrative therapist, so she knows the power of telling over the story in a different way can change everything. Saying it through power, you can say the same story through Paro's lens or through the lens of Pesach, of speaking, of conversing and communicating and having open communication. That is where it says the more we speak, the Hareza Meshubach, we're more praised. And the highest level of speech is the last day of Pesach, where we get to singing. Because Kriyas Yamsuf was when we got to speech at its highest form, which is singing. Singing takes us to the highest level of our souls. Singing is something that we can do that elevates us to the highest levels. So we learn here that the first step in liberation, because Paro was breakdown of communication, the first step in being liberated in CS Mitzrayim and leaving a situation where Paro, a toxic creation situation of being a slave, is verbalizing what's wrong. The first thing we need to do is be able to talk and understand and verbalize, this is not okay, this is wrong, right? A slave has no voice until he begins to speak about his freedom, it says. And so how we leave our own Mitzrayim is to verbalize in our life what we want to change, what is holding us back, to verbalize how we would look if we were free, to manifest that through speech as much as we can, to verbalize what's not good. I don't want this for myself. Just like the Jewish people cried out with that, just their cry from their soul. It says that Hashem heard their cries. Then once they cried out, and then Hashem realized they're ready to be free because they know this is not okay. And they're able to say, we're crying out because we don't want this to continue. Even though the rest of the world, slavery continued to exist for thousands of years afterwards, they were able to recognize this is not good. We don't want this. This is not who we're meant to be. And they cried out, and Hashem said, the first step was you realizing this is not okay. And now it's time for me to take you out of this slavery. So leaving our own Mitzrayim, the first thing we need to do to break down that in our own limitations in ourselves is to know this is not okay, right? Someone will stay in a toxic relationship, in a toxic job forever until he's able to communicate and verbalize, this isn't good, this is not good for me, and communicate that. To talk to Hashem and to connect with Hashem, and to tell Hashem what we want, and to tell Hashem how we want things to be different. And the next session, I guess the next step is to surrender and let go and release and make space and allow Hashem to do the rest, right? We just need to make space and surrender like a hay, and to give ourselves up and to submit, which is a huge part of the Seder of Pesach, which is bittul, which is dipping and submitting, and tvila. All of the dipping we do on Pesach is about humbling ourselves, because bittul, tvila, dipping is bittul, it's humility. And we just have to be humble and say, Hashem is one who's going to take me out, right? I just have to know what I need and cry out to Hashem, and then let Hashem do the part, right? Baby, all he does during birth is just cry out, right? We could just cry out to Hashem, tell Hashem, this is what I want, and you do it all. I'm just receiving it, and be open to receiving it by literally opening our hearts, taking away beliefs that hold us back from receiving it, beliefs that we can't, by the beliefs that held back 4/5 of the Jewish people who didn't even leave Mitzrayim when Hashem was giving him this gift of freedom, 4/5 of the Jews who chose to stay in slavery. We just want to take away those limiting beliefs that we have on our neshama by cleansing throughout Pesach cleaning, by cleansing when we take away matzah and pride, and just remembering that we're humble, but in the greatest way. We're flat like matzah. We're broken, open like the hay, but the hay is the greatest letter. We're not broken to be nothing. We're broken because by being broken, we have the space to be filled with light from Hashem. So the Kutz, I'm going to end with the thought of the Kutzker Rav. The Kutzker Rav says that there's nothing as whole as a broken heart, and there's nothing as broken as a whole heart, as a whole ego. When someone says there's nothing that broken and damaged, when someone thinks that they're everything because they're not making space to receive more, that's somebody who chose to stay in Egypt, who thinks I'm whole in Egypt, in the worst slave mentality, until Martin Luther King and people before him and after him shouted out, this is not okay. People just accepted it. It's crazy to think that people, and 4/5 of the Jewish nation, 80% of the Jewish nation, 4/5 is not 80%, right? I mean, it is, okay, chose to stay in slavery. So that's the mindset that we have to do. We have to take back anything holding us back and be able to cry out and say, this is a situation is not okay, and I want it to be different. And in Nissan, we have the capacity to receive this light every single day of Nissan, not just on Pesach. Because contrary to what many of us think, why is Nissan a month of miracles? Because Pesach happened. No. We keep learning it is not that at all. It's not that Nissan is a time of freedom because of Pesach. Pesach happened in Nissan because from the beginning of creation, this energy of from the time Hashem made the world, Nissan was the month of freedom. Nissan was the month of speech. Nissan was the month of leaving boundaries. Nissan was the month of breaking free, of breaking open and receiving from above. Nissan was the month of communicating what we want to the world. Nissan was the month that was always that, and that's why during Nissan is when we were freed. Hashem could have picked any month, but we were freed in Nissan because that's the energy when we can most tap into our freedom, into our essential core freedom. That happened during Pesach, and it happened on the 15th of Nissan or the 14th of Nissan because just like the Jewish moon, we follow the moon, and the moon is fullest. So the energy of the month follows the moon. So at the whole month of Nissan, every day growing and growing, we have the capacity to connect and tap into this boundless, infinite energy of receiving the light from Hashem, and it's strongest when the moon is fullest, which is in the middle of the month, and the 14th of Nisan, when Hashem redeemed us, that is when the energy of the month is at its fullest, or its most apparent. It's always there. But every day of Nisan, we can tap into this growth energy, into this freedom energy, into shedding all of the layers. And the highest, most potent is when the moon is at its fullest on the night of Pesach, but it continues. Pesach is just the beginning, and it gets the ball rolling for the rest of the year. So Pesach, it's not that the freedom ends on Pesach. Pesach is when the ball begins to roll, just like physical therapy, or when you just do a little bit of nudging the body in the right direction, and then it continues to do its work. So Pesach is when we're nudged in this direction of freedom, and then the ball rolls and continues to roll into freedom. So Pesach is when we begin to let go. It's the beginning process of being free of all slavery that's holding us back, any limitation, any Matzaah, any mitzrayim in our soul, in our body, in our mind, any constriction inside our lives, or coming from outside of us, coming from other people in our lives, coming from limitations, coming from physical limitations like money, time, and other things. It's the beginning step. Pesach is when the ball begins to roll and we start to roll out of all of that limitation, and then the ball keeps rolling from then on. So it's like that burst through, that huge breakthrough when you're breaking through bondage, right? Because our freedom as a nation didn't end on Pesach, it was just the beginning of us. So Pesach is that beginning when we have this massive breakthrough and we continue growing and becoming greater and larger and growing into who we can be. L'chaim, I'm going to end off. There's so much more, but I can't say it all. We didn't talk about the lamb. We didn't talk about. The lamb is the korban of Pesach, but the lamb is I can't do it. It's too much. Well, it's the Aries. It's the month. It's the Taleh. It's dew. It's really the lamb in very short. The way the only mitzvah Hashem really gave us is to take the God of the Egyptians, which was the lamb, which was serving nature and thinking that everything just happens because they thought that the lamb was God. They were like, we created nature. Nature is something that we control. It is natural. There is no God. They had no opening for a God, and slaughtering their lamb. So it represents slaughtering our connection to just accepting things as they are naturally and forgetting about the higher source. So it's slaughtering what they served, which was nature. And then tying it to their bed to show that we're not afraid. We're not going to subscribe to things just because the whole world is subscribing to a belief that I need to be a certain way to be beautiful. I need to be a certain way to be successful. That I am not good enough. Anything the world tells you, you can unsubscribe to that. So is that courage to say, I don't care if this is everyone's God, I'm going to slaughter that God. And so slaughtering the lamb represents slaughtering our connection to that, and putting the blood on our doorposts was what set us apart and made us, this is a person who's ready to be free. This is somebody who wants to be free. This is somebody who's not afraid, who's unsubscribing from, even if the whole world believes in slavery, I don't, right? And that's unsubscribing, and that's being, that's what set us apart. So that's how the connection to the Aries and the lamb, there's much more because we're compared to a lamb that's always being devoured. We're a lamb. The Jewish nation is a lamb. Like Eretz Yisrael is a lamb surrounded by 70 nations, hungry wolves trying to destroy us. And our existence is a miraculous lamb, a lamb that continues to live somehow. Imagine there's a lamb and 70 wolves trying to destroy her and she's still alive. You say, that's a miracle lamb. That's not real, right? So we're connected to merit. So it's also a reminder that we're always connected, that the fact that we're a lamb with surrounded with 7 nations, that we're still here, it reminds us all the time, like we have this infinite connection to Hashem of unbounded chayos and life force from Hashem. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to end off with a blessing. Why? Wait, you didn't hear anything?
When I paid, I always listen to Shira when I paid. It's perfect, because you can focus, you can focus on the words and also
Wow. Yeah.
I went through there. I can pay attention to what's happening here. I was like, oh, that's a nice color. What's that? Yeah, bro.
I love the
I love the colors.
You reach a level of freedom. We are into
Yeah,
that.
Kiki took me out of this world.
And back to it again.
And back to it.
Okay. So the next 2 weeks, we're clearing away our chametz, which is really an internally directed process to clear away anything that is holding us back from the miracles that Hashem wants to give us. So for the next 2 weeks, we're clearing away chametz, and every day we're receiving more and more miracles from Hashem for the greatest moment of breakthrough on the night of the Seder, where we manifest and internalize through every step of the Seder, which we're going to do another time, how we can break through all our limitations. And I bless us to have a month of true chayros, true redemption, and we should witness the real miracle, the miracle of all miracles, when everyone will be free of all restrictions, when nobody will be enslaved by anybody, and we'll all be able to connect to the infinite. May we leave our homes. We should be able to leave our homes and feel this new reality in the entire world, not just the miracle inside of ourselves. And we should experience the miracles of the month and the miracles of Mashiach and redemption of all evil in the world very, very soon. Amen. Thank you so much for joining. If you like this class, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for way more great, amazing Facebook classes that will also blow your mind the way that they're blowing mine. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And if you're watching, just say hi or like something, because sometimes I feel like I don't know who's watching or not, and then someone's like, I saw it. So reminder, just say a little hello, hi, I like the class, I didn't agree with what you said, this connected to me. Even if it's just literally a hi, that's so nice to hear, that I know that I'm not talking to a screen. And obviously these amazing humans. Thank you, Hannah, for today's gorgeous art class. Can I show some of, I kept getting distracted by your painting, Shira. Are you an artist?
I paint.
You paint? Okay, this is Shira Orman. Gorgeous. Look at this. Guys, this happened during this year. It's amazing. Can I see more? Guys, ladies, can we see the more? Show us your paintings. We're going to do a group picture. That is, those colors. Oh, and okay. Those colors are stunning. I was just like gasping at those colors. They're so bold, so daring. Okay.